why is it so exhilarating to interpret an ancient text? Because what an ancient text tells us, if it is a tremendous text, that nothing has really changed. You see? We are so busy, each generation is so busy, overwhelmed with the changes of time, you see? Right now, people are busy with this specific crisis, for example. Their minds are completely engrossed in change, you see? In this time that is going to change as well. But their minds become so glued to what is taking place right now that they are completely, their minds are completely shaped by time. But what these texts show us is that the questions that should really trouble us, what should really occupy our mind, is exactly the same questions, exactly the same concerns. So they were troubled with the very same questions. And here we read this text, and it's exactly us asking the same questions right now, the same existential questions. We realize that nothing has really changed, and that the problem of suffering is exactly the same problem, no matter how much we have developed technologically. Here we are suffering from the very same cause of suffering, and here we are facing the only possibility of release from suffering, the only possibility of liberation. And this also hasn't changed, you see? So suffering hasn't changed, and liberation hasn't changed. So this is very humbling, I think, this recognition. So you remove all the layers of time and so on, and there you find yourself. Death is the greatest teacher of them all. Death is the greatest master of them all. If you need to find out about the nature of life and the nature of death, you should better go to death itself, death himself, and ask death. And this is the thing. And this is the heart of this retreat. Death contemplation, meditation on death. You see, death contemplation is without a doubt the most urgent, most important inquiry one could ever make in one's life. And still we brush it aside. Still we don't do that. The most important fact of life that makes life so astonishing and so frightening, but also so meaningful. Most people don't sit with it and really gather the courage, the forces within to ask death, who are you? Who are you? Because if you ask death, who are you? You realize that you actually ask yourself, who am I? That's the power of death contemplation. As soon as you ask death, who are you? What are you? You immediately find yourself asking yourself, but who am I? Who am I if I am such a perishable entity? What is my identity? And how do I define myself or understand the phenomena of myself if it is so mortal, if it is so limited in time? Is my sense of self, my sense of my self-consciousness, does it endure death? Does it pass through death in any form? Why don't we ask this question about death? Why don't we immerse ourselves in death contemplation? This is probably because we are afraid that of such harsh realities. So we flatten it. We say, yes, it's just death. Yeah, I understand, I'm going to die one day. And then, but the fact that we flatten it, the fact that we say, yes, well, I'm going to die, death is natural. Why ask questions? This is only because we are afraid of the terrifying absurdity, you see? We don't want to look into it because it is deeply confusing. So then we go on with our life. But life, the phenomena of life is so flat if you don't enter into death, you see? If you don't engage in death contemplation, your life is as shallow as nothing. So death brings up so many questions, you see, that we try very hard to avoid because we are afraid of absurdity. We are afraid of the absurd of existence. Why would we do what we do? Why would we ascribe so much significance to life if it's all going to be over so soon, so ridiculously, in such ridiculous pointlessness, you see? What's the point? So we are afraid of this depression. We are afraid of this nothingness, of this meaninglessness, and this is why we simply brush aside death contemplation. I don't know why you've come to this retreat, but you have done something quite extraordinary. Instead of celebrating New Year's Eve in a normal way, which is celebrating what we call life, you see, the continuity of time and the constant anticipation toward the new, as if anything new is going to happen, and toward the better, Instead, you have made a choice to dedicate yourself to death contemplation because you have the right intuition that death contemplation is the key to rebirth, is the key to liberation, is the key to the end of suffering. And if you are able to understand death experientially, fully, then you have really understood what it means to die to a previous year and to begin a new one, you see.